Okay, so we have one more minute.
So who can we talk about? You can talk about anyone you want. If you just know it's being broadcast too.
Okay.
We'll talk about,
Dozens of
I want to
listeners.
talk about Councilmember Barron.
Okay,
We'll
see how far that gets you.
we'll get started in about 1 minute. There you go. It's 10 o'clock. So are we ready? I'm connecting. Give me a few minutes.
Just join with audio and it'll be fine.
Yeah. No audio.
Good.
I see a lot of yellow in the room.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for joining us. We will call this meeting to order at 10 o'clock. Good morning again, and thank you those that are joining us here in the boardroom. I see we have a full house. And also for those that are joining us via Zoom. And today is our regular meeting of the Monterey Salinas Transit District Board of Directors, meeting of June 12th of 2023. Thank you, directors, and everyone else who's joining us. Just a couple of announcements before we begin the meeting. During today's meeting, the public does have several options to be able to join the meeting. You can join in person in the board conference room. You can also join the meeting via Zoom, and the meeting ID is located on the agenda. For the meeting is today's meeting, and I think it's the same as for all meetings. It's 845-0083-6234, and the passcode is 652252. You can also join us via telephone. The phone number to call in is 1-669-900-6833, and if you can use the same meeting ID and passcode also as Zoom. So thank you again for those that are joining us today, and I will turn it over to Jeanette for a roll call, please.
Okay, City of Carmel by the Sea, Jeff Barron.
Here.
City of Delray Oaks, Kim Shirley. Here. City of Gonzales, Lorraine Worthy. Here. City of Greenfield, we have Angela Untalon today. Here. City of King City, Mike Labarth. Absent.
He told us he was going to be here. Yes, and excuse me, just for the record, Director Labar did state he was not going to be able to be here today. Correct.
City of Marina, Lisbeth Vischer. Here. City of Monterey, Ed Smith.
Present.
City of Pacific Grove, Joe Emilio.
Here.
City of Salinas, Tony Barrera.
Here.
City of Seaside, Dave Pacheco.
Here.
County of Monterey, Luis Alejo.
Is he going to be online? I don't see him.
All marked absent, but we do have City of San City, Marianne Carbone. Here. And City of Soledad, Ana Velasquez.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum.
Thank you. So we'll move on to our next item on our agenda, and that's our Pledge of Allegiance. And if we can all stand, and if I can ask Director Shirley to please lead us in our pledge. Ready to begin.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, and at this time, I will turn it over to Mr. Carl Sidorik to give us a highlight of review of today's agenda.
Thank you, Chair. Among the other items that are on your board agenda today, we have on the consent agenda the authorization to execute a contract with Giroux for software maintenance. There is also another software maintenance contract with Vontas Transit Master. And then in the consent agenda, we have our after action report from the Monterey County Emergency Operations Center Pineapple Express Winter Storms Response. Those are all there for you to review, as well as some claim rejections on the consent agenda. From a recognition standpoint, we're going to take another crack at recognizing Yaneli Martinez for her time on the MST board. We were not able to make that connection happen last month, so we're going to do it again this month, and she is here, so we're happy for that. We have a proclamation from the County of Monterey for our emergency services response during the winter storms. Then we have our employee of the months later on the agenda. Our only action item on the agenda for this month is our approval of our FY24 and FY25 operating and capital budgets. That concludes my review of the agenda.
Thank you, Carl, for that update and the review of the agenda. So we'll move on to our next item, and this is our public comments on matters not on the agenda. So at this time, any member of the public may address the Board of Directors on items not appearing on the agenda. Speakers shall have a minimum of, or shall have a limited time of 3 minutes. Please be brief and to the point, and the board will not immediately respond, but may choose to ensure that our staff provides information at a later time. So just as a reminder, for those that are joining us via Zoom, please use the raise hand feature so we can recognize you and unmute you. Okay, so at this time, I will open it up for those that are joining us here in the boardroom first, and then I will take it out to those that are joining us via Zoom. So do we have any comments on matters not on the agenda from anyone who's in our boardroom? Okay, seeing none, then I will take it out to those that are joining us via Zoom. And I do see a comment. I do see a hand up, Mr. Anthony Lombardo.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, that's great. Good morning, MST board members and staff. I think you received a letter last week from my client, Paul O'Hadi at Pacific Rim Company, who is in contract to purchase a portion of MST's property at 280 Reservation Road. Mr. O'Hadi is unfortunately recovering from surgery he just had, so he couldn't join us today and asked me to speak briefly to you. After that contract was entered into to purchase a portion of your property in Marina, the city of Marina placed a 2-year moratorium on any discretionary land use approvals so it could adopt a new downtown planning document. This precluded MST from being able to revise the specific plan it had on the property and split the parcel so it could transfer a portion of it to Mr. O'Hadi. That plan was not adopted during the 2-year moratorium and has in fact not been adopted yet as of this date. We tried to proceed with just a minor subdivision application to split the parcel, but the then city staff say couldn't support that application because the MST approved specific plan covered the entire site and would have to be amended, and without a new downtown plan, they couldn't make a consistency determination. Mr. O'Hadi still wants to purchase the property and is ready, willing, and able to close escrow as soon as the city will allow the property to be split, which is a requirement for you to sell it to anyone. I was in discussions with your former counsel, Heidi Quinn, regarding the steps the parties would need to undertake to close escrow, but when she left Mr. Laredo's office, the only communication we received from MST after that was a demand to cancel the escrow. The contract on its face does not allow MST to unilaterally cancel the escrow. It does contain a binding arbitration and attorney's fees provision, which would be the next step if MST does not agree to reinstate the escrow. As I hope you could tell from Mr. O'Hadi's letter, he's trying to work with MST in a positive fashion towards solving the problem of splitting the parcel so he can close escrow rather than litigating this issue. Mr. Ohadi requests that the board reconsider its actions of canceling the escrow and work with him to find a solution with the city of Marina to allow the property to be split and the escrow to close. If help from a mediator, a neutral mediator would be beneficial, he would agree to that as well. Alternatively, he would like the board to re-agendize this matter so he can make a full presentation to you regarding what has occurred and what's necessary to purchase the property. He'd prefer to avoid the costs of both parties of arbitration and to enforcing his rights under the contract. Thank you, board members. I know you can't comment on this today, but hopefully this will be a catalyst towards a positive resolution to this issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lombardo, for your comments, and I will turn it over to Michael if there's any comments, our city attorney.
District Attorney, and thank you, Chair.
Sorry, District Attorney.
We are aware of the letter that Mr. Lombardo has referenced. This is an active matter that is, we're in the process of setting for arbitration. As he commented on, there's nothing to do today, but we could put something on a future agenda item if you would like.
Thank you. Thank you for those comments, and I'll turn it over to Carl if you have any additional comments.
Nope.
Thank you. So, okay, so we'll move on then to our next item on our agenda, which at this time is our consent calendar, and we have items 3.1 to 3.11 in our consent calendar. Do any directors wish to pull an item from the consent calendar for future discussion or comment? Director Shirley?
Yeah, Chair Velasquez, I just have a quick edit for 3-3 on the minutes from the last one.
Okay, 3-3. Okay, and anyone else?
Chair, I'd like to pull 3.5. Say 3.5.
3.5. Okay, that's Director Emilio. Okay, anyone else?
I read that for 3.7, board members may request it to be discussed in closed session.
Yes.
Could that be done?
Yes, do you want a closed session today, or would you like a closed session
future.
next month?
Next month. will be
Okay,
done.
there is no immediate emergency on this, so we can agendize this for next month.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anyone else? Okay, then let me take it out to the public. Are there any members of the public that wish to pull an item from the consent calendar for discussion or comments?
Question.
No one from the public?
Sorry. I forgot. I'm sorry. I didn't hear you went out to the public. I was just following up with item 3.7. So was that are we pulling that to be heard in closed session next month, or is that the item that's sitting in our folder here?
So
Yes.
if I may, through the
Yes.
chair, item 3-7 is a related but separate issue. 3-7 is a claim rejection, which is a due process issue. It is being rejected not for the merits that were discussed by Mr. Lombardo, or that the comments that are in that letter. That is being rejected because it did not follow the Government Tort Claim Act, which is more procedural. However, if it does want to be polled, we could place it on closed session agenda in a future date to discuss.
Okay. Yeah, I just wasn't clear what our committee member Elizabeth had asked, if that was being pulled.
Okay, so just for clarity, though, I got it. So we're pulling that, but we're pulling it for discussion and a closed session item for next month,
Yes.
correct? But this specific,
This can still be voted.
If you would like
Yes.
to proceed with the claim rejection, that is
Yes.
admissible, yes.
Yes.
Because we're rejecting it and it says it on page 31, it's based off of the process, they didn't follow the proper process.
okay, so you still want to continue with it,
Continue with it today, but then this have it
the separate
added to the
matter?
agenda for next time for the closed session.
We'll add that to board
Yeah.
referrals for future meetings.
Yes.
Got it. Okay, is that clear?
Very.
Okay, good, thank you. And let me just go out to the public, just my final call. If there's any member of the public that wish to pull an item for further discussion or clarity from those that are joining us via Zoom. Okay, and I don't see any, so then I'll bring it back to directors. Do we want to go ahead and make approval of items 3-11 with the exception of 3.3 and 3.5?
And Madam Chair, I had a
But you
question.
have one?
I just wanted, I read the report on 311, but being that I just wanted to make sure that this things come to a close. I know there's pending funds here. I'd like to just hear a brief report on that.
Okay. Okay, so we'll pull that. So then items 3-3, 3-5, and 3-11 will be pulled today. Do I have can I get a motion for all the other?
I'd like to make a motion for the consent, to approve the consent agenda with the exceptions of 3.3, 3.5, and 3.11.
Second.
Okay, so we,
The question, should we also include 3.7 since we took separate action on that? So should be,
oh,
it's not voted on today in the consent.
so can we get clarity? Because I thought we were gonna still continue with it. The only item that we were doing is we're gonna bring back for board discussion, the issue of the claimant Pacific Rim Company LLC regarding the comments that were made today. But this can still continue, so we don't need to pull it,
Right.
correct? That was my
That's
understanding.
how I was told too.
That is correct.
Yes.
Yes.
So I just wanted to clarify
Yes.
the request from the committee member was to still act on 3.7 to reject
Correct.
the claim.
Yes,
Correct,
yes.
Okay,
yes. And to come back
In closed
and
session.
close session
At the
to be able
next.
to discuss at the next meeting, the
Yes,
other
I
portion.
understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that clear?
Yeah, no, it's clear. I'm determined, new board member, new piece of property acquisition.
Yes,
We're gonna have closed session next month. And so my thinking of this is that I want to understand the property history and previous board's action before I'm getting involved in deciding whether or not the merits of the claim should be voted yes or no by me.
Okay.
So I'm a little behind not having the information, having the letter, the testimony by the party represented by their attorney. I don't know enough about the topic at all to know whether or not I would reject the claim or deny the claim or
Okay.
reject or accept. So I'm still thinking, why don't we bundle it together next month?
so let me go out to our district attorney to see if they're able to give us some clarity on that, because I thought it's two separate items. And one matter is just procedural as what was stated in the claim to reject. It's more of a process that wasn't met. So it doesn't really, I mean, my understanding is it doesn't really have it hinder anything that we decide on the other claim once we meet in closed session.
That is correct. So basically, the claim rejection today is basically saying that the claim that is before you, that was presented to MST is untimely. The last time MST acted on this property was well over a year ago. And the Government Tort Claims Act requires any claim be brought within 6 months. This claim came well after the 6-month period, so it's being rejected on that basis. What's going to be put on closed session going forward is to discuss the status and the surrounding issues of the arbitration that's going forward on this issue, which was what Mr. Lombardo talked about in his comments.
Okay,
Understand, thank you.
okay, so with that, then we do have a motion on the floor. And all in, we don't have to do roll call. No, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so then motion carries and I'll turn it over to Director Shirley for item 3-3.
Thank you, Chair. So I just noticed that my name was missing on the vote tally for the minutes for last month's meeting.
Thank you for noting that. We will make that correction.
Thank you.
Okay, and then I'll turn it over to Director Emilio and item 3-5.
Yes, 3.5, I'm just, I agree with the financial reports, and I just had a couple of clarifying questions. I see there's Carl, is there a minimum? I see there's over 9 million in reserves. Is there a minimum that's supposed to be in reserves?
Yes, your board has adopted a policy of 15% of annual budget, operating budget, to be a minimum amount of cash reserves. We're far exceeding that at this time.
Okay, the other question I have is, I don't know if it's Lori Lee, Yvonne, or maybe Carl, you could find out. Is there a liability on the, I noticed the PERS in 457, or maybe HR talk about it. Was there a liability on the PERS?
Unfunded liability?
Unfunded liability.
Yes,
I'm just
there
curious.
is.
I mean, we're
Yes.
dealing with it with, I'm sure everybody's dealing with it.
Kelly Halkin, Director of Human Resources. Our unfunded liability on our PERS is actually way below. I mean, there is one, but it's not as substantial as what many of your cities are seeing because we don't have safety and fire,
I see.
which is
Okay.
which is the big portion of what's causing high unfunded liability in all of your cities on the PERS side.
Do you, just curious, do you know how much the unfunded liability is?
You know, I don't know the number off the top of my head. I know what it was a couple, like maybe a year ago. I mean, it was between 1 to 2 million. I mean,
Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Director Emilio. And we'll get that information so we have it for yourself and the rest of the board members. Okay, and then we'll go on to item 3-11. Director Barrera had requested this one to be pulled for information to be able to provide information in regards to some of the remaining funds. And I will turn this over to Carl.
This was 311?
311.
Yeah, I guess I would have to ask specifically, what is your question?
Well, there's a dollar amount there. Are you asking for payment or?
In the dollar, as far as outstanding, as far as from the county of Monterey for our evacuation services. We're working with the county on that, and we're also applying through FEMA for funds, so eventually we'll get there.
Yeah.
So it's not a pressing financial concern for MST.
Yeah.
But it is something that we certainly are, can't be making a gift of public funds from one agency to the other, so we're following our process to make certain that we're recuperated our funds for providing this service. So
Yeah, Madam Chair and Mr. Sidorik as well. I just wanted to thank the MST staff. I was out there observing on the emergency, and people were devastated, and they're still devastated, going through a hard time. But MST, I believe, did a great service. I just wanted to say thank you for that. And you know what? Maybe to us, the flood is over, but to the people that actually live there, it'll go on for a long time still. So thank you.
and we are continuing our free services to
Oh, great.
Pablo
Good.
as well. So
Thank you.
that's something that is continuing because we do know, the floods have stopped and the news fans have gone away, but people are still suffering there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Barrera, for pulling that and just commenting on it. I thought we had another presentation on it, but
We have a proclamation from the county of Monterey coming up.
on that,
Yes, this
yeah.
teed me up perfectly.
Yeah, which is,
Money.
yeah, which is really important. And I
Thank
believe also on that FEMA reimbursement, 70% of it. Does FEMA reimburse 70% of it? I thought that's what we had from our cities as well for any damages or any. So it won't,
I have
we
other
won't reimburse
staff.
100%, but
I have
it
staff
will
working on that.
reimburse. I want to say 70% of it, but not 100%.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah, and thank you for pulling that item and acknowledging just all the work that happened and continues to happen. Still supporting a lot of those families that it's gonna take. The recovery phase is still gonna be ongoing, and so thank you to all who've been supporting that, and thank you to the county and their efforts as well. Okay, so with that, do we have a motion to approve item 3-3, 3-5, and 3-11?
Second.
Okay, so we have first by Director Barrera and then a second by my Pacheco. Okay, Director Pacheco. Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so motion carries. Thank you. So we'll move on to our next item on our agenda. That's recognitions and special presentations. And this, as our Carl had mentioned, we do have Director Martinez who's here for a recognition of her 6 years of service on the MST board. And there was some miscommunication, so I'm glad she's here. We did this last month, but I will turn it over to Carl for the recognition.
You want to join me or? You'll be up there anyway for a photo at some point. I'm pleased to be here today to recognize the efforts that Yaneli Martinez, representative from the city of Greenfield, provided to our board. She, throughout her career or throughout her time and even prior to MST and probably still is an active MST customer. She was also very active in the community at community events. When we were promoting the anniversary of our line 23, and as we were working on our Better Bus Network, we could always count on Yaneli to be there representing the city of Greenfield and especially the constituents who rely on MST. Also, she volunteered time out of her very busy schedule to attend meetings and conferences, Atlanta, and all across the country to learn more and to advocate for MST, to advocate for rural counties. And then at the same time, as a staff person supporting her, we were tasked with making certain that she had access from various parts of the country to attend her local meetings for the city of Greenfield. So she was able to balance all those things, and just the amount of energy and dedication that she provided and perseverance. It was just a wonderful thing to watch and have her on our team. So thank you, Yaneli. It's much appreciated. So we have a pen for you to recognize your time on our board, as well as a proclamation that was adopted by our board last month. Thank you. And Anna, is there anything you wish to say?
Yeah, no, I think we said it last time, Yaneli, and I know you missed some of the comments for the directors. I know Mike Labar's not here, but on behalf of the MST board, we just want to say thank you for your unwavering dedication. Thank you for being an advocate for the residents of South County. I know your voice was imperative during the COVID-19 pandemic, when many of our students lost access to Wi-Fi, especially significantly in Southern Monterey County. You were an advocate for those communities, making sure that our students still had our Wi-Fi bus that was transported as part of MST to make sure that our students still had access to the learning capacity. So we just want to say on behalf of the board, thank you so much for your advocacy, and thank you so much for representing your city and their needs in our MST board. Thank you.
Do I get to say a few words now?
Absolutely.
Yes, miscommunication, I guess, last time, and I really wanted to honor all the MST staff, all the amazing MST staff, and more importantly, my colleagues, the board of directors. Don't think that I didn't want to be here. I definitely want to be here. I'm not able to serve on this board anymore because of dirty politics that are happening all over the country, and they're happening, guess what? Yes, locally in Greenfield, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to be no more a writer or continue to give you my feedback. I'm still going to continue to do that. And one thing that I've learned is that MST really is a family, because when I've been there at my lowest, which was the passing of my mother, MST was there. And that says a lot about the leadership that we had. When I started with MST, I came in with the great leadership of Tony Barrera, who was amazing. Then after that, Mike Labar, who couldn't be here today. And then Anna, I'm so proud of the leadership that we currently have. 2 strong females up there, Marianne, Anna. I've learned so much from both of you. And I'm so proud of the work that you're doing, Anna, and you will continue to do. And every one of you board of directors, that I got a chance to work with, and I don't want to cry. I'm gonna miss you, but you'll know where to find me, because when there's good trouble, Yaneli will be there. But Jeff, you are amazing. I will visit you in Carmel. Every single one of you that I really got a chance to, that became a family. Luis, you have always been an inspiration, a role model. Tony, I mean, look at all this amazing MST staff. You're always there to be their voice and keep on doing that. Joe, I know I'll see you. We'll find each other. Marianne, you've been like a best friend, like a mother, everything, even my troublemaker in conferences. Carl, just cover your ears. But MST was a great family. I'm sorry that I'm not going to get a chance to participate with other board of director from Marina that reached out during the passing of my mother. That says a lot. And Michelle couldn't be here, Carl, but you have amazing, not just directors, but staff. Michelle took it upon herself to reach out and send me a beautiful letter during the hard time of the passing of my mother. And who does that? MST does. So for everybody that's out there watching, MST does really care about every single one of the writers. It might be really tough decisions that we make up here, but at the end of the day, each and every single one of these individuals here really want to make a difference, and they're always willing to listen. And that's going to be the part that I'm going to miss from MST not being to be up there. But MST is always going to be in my heart, and I'm always going to be a writer. And with that, the only thing that I want to say is that every single one of you that are out there, and it's getting hard in politics, don't let just pittiness bring you down, because when they go low, we go high, and we all know that. And so I will just end it with that it has been a huge honor to be a director for MST, and I will continue to ride the bus. So with that, thank you.
During COVID, we weren't able to get to talk to you, so you should have got one last year.
Last year.
When I ride the bus up there.
There you go. Okay, for sure. We got some photos from Seattle.
A good trouble.
Good trouble.
over there.
Oh.
No. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, we do. So we'll move on to our next recognition. And this is item 4-2. So now let's receive the proclamation for Monterey County for emergency services provided to residents of Monterey County. And I will turn this over to Director Supervisor Alejo.
Yeah, thank you very much, everybody. And I wanted to, on behalf of the county, as chair of the County Board of Supervisors, take a moment to come and recognize all the dedicated Monterey Salinas Transit employees. As Director Barrera was pointing out, it's a reminder that during these emergencies, as we experienced not only in March, but also in January, our county as the lead agency interacts with a lot of different state, federal, and local agencies, nonprofit partners, a lot of community volunteers. But one of our key partners during these January and March storms was Monterey Salinas Transit. Before even the evacuations happened, these dedicated employees were on standby for days right there next to the National Guard, next to the Sheriff's Department. They were preparing in advance for the worst case scenario. In January, Pajaro was evacuated for 8 days. In March, at around midnight, when we got word that the levee broke, it was these folks who came in to evacuate that community of almost 3,000 low-income residents. It's the worst thing that could happen at the worst possible time, because you're evacuated, you're moving out, frankly, at very last minute without much preparation to take the belongings that you need. But Monterey Salinas Transit was a key partner in that evacuation. And then in the aftermath, in moving people to the fairgrounds, and then at the fairgrounds, providing key services to them, including them, getting them to the Veterans Hall where they opened some of the disaster assistance services. It was your drivers that were there taking our residents there. So I think it's a reminder for all of us, when times are easy, it's easy to lead, but it's during our most challenging of times that our leadership is truly tested. And these employees deserve us taking a moment to acknowledge their work, acknowledge their sacrifice and everything they did for our residents of Pajaro and other parts of Monterey County as well. So last month, the Board of Supervisors passed a resolution recognizing all our different partners. So I have a resolution signed by all of my colleagues, but also we have a proclamation that just reads Monterey Salinas Transit, and we're declaring your employees Monterey County Emergency Services Heroes 2023 March Pajaro 2023 Pajaro floods. On behalf of the Board of Supervisors, we commend Monterey Salinas Transit for their dedicated service, assisting the people of Pajaro and other storm victims through the most challenging of times. We thank you for your heroic actions and service during the devastating March storms. Your selfless efforts and care for the people of Pajaro and other impacted communities is worthy of our highest praise and appreciation, and you are hereby declared true Monterey County Emergency Services Heroes. So we want to thank all of you as board members for supporting Carl and all his management leadership team that coordinated with all the rank and file employees to make sure that we helped the Pajaro residents and other flood victims of Monterey County through their most challenging of times. So with that, I want to present this to you, Carl. Thank you very much.
It's great to be recognized, and this really though belongs to Norm and Marzette and the coach operators and the mechanics who, and our facilities crew who you see here, who were on the scene, who took the calls at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and who showed up, who volunteered to stay overnight away from home when the floods were threatening to cut the peninsula and the Salinas Valley in half. And, we were working together with our contractor, MV Transit, with our local taxi cab providers. It was a group effort, and we all came together, and that's part of what makes this such a great county to work in. And proud to be here for 23 years this month, and hope to spend a few more years here as well, working with this great team. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I don't know if you can tell them, Sure. Great.
Can we get him up here?
Come on up.
It's all for you guys. Thank you.
Sure. Let's see. Is the podium in the way?
Oh, for sure.
For sure.
But it's mine, it's wired. So what I need is like this group to kind of move more over that side.
Okay.
You can move out of the way too.
Okay. And they're going to this direction.
There you go. That's right.
Got it?
I'm gonna go sideways.
One more. Okay, thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you so much. This will be put together on our wall here.
No white envelopes. White envelopes.
I know, no white
For la
envelopes.
feria.
I know.
But Madam Chair, can we just, being that they took the time, can we just
Yes,
ask
absolutely.
who they are? That way they can give their name real quick and.
Yes.
They're here for them, they are all actually here for another item on the
Oh,
agenda
yeah.
for the 25 years of Apollo.
And I
Okay,
understand
yeah.
that, but I would, it's always great just to know who they are and just quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. If you guys want to come up to the podium and just introduce yourselves, that would be great. Oh, you want to come up here? So that way we can have our public
We got our,
see you as well.
our facilities folks here. Abel, Sherman,
We got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You guys go ahead.
Justin, Obi. I'm done. Johnny. Daniel.
Thank you.
So
Thank
these are the
you.
Folks that helped us make it happen. They maintain our bus stops, all of our facilities.
Nice.
every single day.
That's
Yeah,
good.
thank you so much. Thank you. And I know we will hear from you all in a bit. So thank you so much for being here as well. So we'll move on to our next item on the agenda now, which is our presentation, our employee of the month. And this is for Alejandra Chavarin, HR assistant, and I will turn this over to Kelly Halcon.
We're just gonna turn it over to Melissa.
Is that I would ask that Alejandra and Francisco come up together since they both earned this together as well.
Okay,
This is a
perfect. So
unique,
we have two employees of the month.
Unique award, Alejandra and
Francisco.
were hired on the same day. And were responsible for virtually the same day, as right around the same time, yeah. And have been working really hard on our getting our staffing back up. And when it came time to award the honor, I've had a policy that these awards only go to a single employee and force the managers to make a choice. However, in this case, we brought forth these two employees and I was forced to flip a coin, and you wouldn't believe it, but the coin landed right on its edge. Because they did such a great job. We are co-employees of the month this month. So what's up?
Thank you.
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Melissa Valadez. I am the Human Resources Supervisor at Monterey Salinas Transit. I am honored to be able to present to you our employees of the month. Both Francisco and Alejandra were hired as HR assistants in October of 2021 and have made a huge impact not only within our HR department, but within our agency. While Alejandra and Francisco were learning their new positions, they were also filling open positions as staffing levels had decreased by 20% during COVID. Since 2021, Alejandra and Francisco have hired over 45 employees, have quickly learned the essential functions of their positions, and have continuously taken on other HR administrative tasks such as leave of absences and workers' compensation. Recently, Alejandra and Francisco started attending local job fairs, and as a result, we have seen an increase in employment applications. Alejandra and Francisco, both of you are an essential part of our HR department, and your hard work does not go unnoticed. You have continuously accepted challenges and overcame obstacles. When we need something done within our department, you do it with total commitment and dedication. Today, we honor and thank you for your exceptional work. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. I don't know if you could hear my voice.
No, you're doing great. You couldn't notice it. Yeah, absolutely. So, do you want to say a few words?
Speech.
Yes, if we can have you say a few words, that'd be great.
I just want to take a quick moment to thank Kelly so much because this was my first job right out of college. I didn't have any previous experience. I did well over 20 interviews and I never got a call back. But the call back that I got back was from Kelly, and thank you so much for giving me, I don't want to cry, but thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to develop myself as a person and to show what I'm able to give as a professional. So thank you so much, Kelly.
Hey.
Melissa, it's been great learning so much from you. It's been several months that I've been nothing but learning, and it's been amazing. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Francisco.
I just wanna thank everyone. I used to ride the bus since the year 2000 with my brother. We used to pretty much go all around town. We didn't have a car back then. My siblings, they use the bus for when we used to go to CSUMB from Parnell. So yeah, I just want to thank everyone for being part of this and being part of the county and just working and keeping it going. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. But before we take a photo, and we'll go up there right now, but I just want to make sure that, we understand the level of importance that both of you have contributed to the HR department, but to be able to hire 45, new employees, to be able to look at the hiring now of our coach operators, we've all been in discussions month after month in regards to some of those decreasing numbers and how do we bring that back up, what other strategies can be done. So I just want to say thank you on behalf of the board for what you've done to really, and during these challenging times, to make sure that people got hired. And it's important, not just to our organization, but also to our community that's looking for work and that's looking to be part of an organization that is family oriented, and it is about people, and it is about our communities, and it is about serving. So thank you both so much.
We've got 12 frontline employees starting training a week from Tuesday. 7 coach operators, 5 utility service people who do the cleaning and fueling of our vehicles. So that's great. So thank you.
You gotta get them in the middle there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right in the middle, you're the stars.
No, no, okay. I'm not taking credit for this. Okay. There you go.
You just hired them. All 3 of them doesn't matter. As a matter of fact.
She's just a gambler.
Okay, so thank you. Thank you. Also, we'll move on to our next recognition, and this is 25 years of service anniversary for Mr. Paul Lopez, and I will turn this over to Norm.
Yes, thank you, Chair, for the opportunity to present to you today. My name is Norm Tuitavuki. I'm the Chief Operating Officer. I'd like to call Paul Lopez up here, stand beside me so I can present him with this wonderful recognition. Paul has diligently, tirelessly served the customers of our community. Those who ride our buses, those who use our bus stops, all of our employees, they're considered customers as well, because the things that he does is he leads the facilities department. Paul started when he was 15. Now he's got, right, 25 years of service. He's still a young man. I'm just kidding on that one. All right. Anyways, he does have 25 years of service. He started as a utility, fueling, washing, and parking our buses for the next day service. Following that, he went into the CNG equipment, and back many years ago, we used to operate buses with compressed natural gas. So he was the person that was in charge of maintaining all of our CNG equipment. He knew tank inspections, compressors, all of that stuff that we had to worry about back then. From then, he went into becoming a supervisor in the facilities department, where he runs the day-to-day operation. He's been working in facilities for several years, and he was recently promoted to manager a couple of years ago. He was instrumental in the completion of the construction at our South County facility. He's instrumental, and he maintains all of our OSHA related compliance certifications, all of our records, all of our reports that we have to maintain. Paul is a local of Salinas. He was born and raised in Salinas. He's got kids, he's got grandkids as well. Talked to him earlier about that, and then I was amazed by how big his family is. So he's got roots in the valley, in the Salinas Valley. Another example of what our employees can do, right? You can raise a family, make a good living here, have a bunch of kids, a bunch of grandkids, whatever you like. But anyways, I wanted to recognize Paul for the many years of service that he's dedicated to MST and our customers. Also here to support him is his crew from facilities, so they're here to support him. And I just want to say thank you, Paul, for all the work that you do and all the work that you've done. I'm looking for many years of service.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you to everyone, especially the executive leadership, to give me the opportunity to move up like that. And I'll continue to do what I'm doing and still do it, I guess. And I really enjoy doing my job. And if it wasn't also from my team, that also makes me look good, because they're out there hustling and doing a good job. Pretty much that's how it is, you know, and they're essential also to keeping our bus stops clean and putting up the shelters and all that stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, these are the guys that are behind the scenes.
Yes, thank you. So if we can have them come up with you, Paul, because I think it's really important to be able to show that. And thank you for saying this is a team effort. I think we all know as directors, right, that it really does take a team, and the leaders obviously are really critical, but if the leaders aren't leading with compassion and aren't leading with honesty and transparency, then it's really hard to have a good team behind you. So this is a testament also to the organization itself, and then to you as well. And I think for us as board of directors is being able to make sure that we are part of this organization that really promotes and supports those leaders within our organization to move up based on some of those leadership skills and to be able to do that. And then also for us, I think really supporting our local economy by hiring people that are from our county, right? And that do represent that quality and that talent that we have in Monterey County. So with that, I think on behalf of the board of directors, we really appreciate you and your team and everything that you've done day in and day out to make sure our buses are in good shape to be able to get people where they need to go. So. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it open. Oh,
Yeah, just real quick, Paul, I appreciate you stating that you appreciate the executive leadership giving you an opportunity. We didn't give you an opportunity. You've earned it. You continue to earn it every day with the way you lead your team. You all do some of the dirty work here. Whether, it's cleaning our stations and doing things that a lot of people wouldn't necessarily want to do. You're out there every day making our facilities safe, hygienic for our passengers. It's so important and critical for what you all do and the role that you play. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark.
thank you. And then I don't know if any of the team members want to say something, and then I'll bring it back to the board if any of the directors would like to say a few words. I know you guys aren't shy.
Yeah, I just want to say, it's been great working with Paul. We've been working together for 25 years now.
Oh,
We
wow.
both, had the same path coming up, washing the buses, facilities, and now, working together. So it's been great working with him, and his leadership has always, taught me, to be a better person. And yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And the mic's open if anyone else wants to. Don't feel obligated. You don't have to. Yeah, I know. I saw that. So I'll bring it back to the board of directors if there's any comments
I'd
that.
like to say something. It's a testament that you guys all showed up today to support Paul. I mean, that tells us everything about his leadership and how you guys feel about him. So thank you to all of you for what you do. Without you, we wouldn't have an MST for sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're missing the picture now.
Yeah, we need a picture with everyone.
Didn't we get one just now?
Not with, did we?
Over there.
Yeah.
Pictures of them like being behind Paul, but I haven't with the resolution, haven't done that yet.
Oh, we haven't.
No.
Okay, okay. So, okay, so let's do that. And then board of directors, if anyone wants to say any comments while we do that, that'd be great.
Yeah. I have to move this outside. I'll stand up to the side. You can get in the middle with them all. I'll stay here. There, why don't you get in the middle? There we go. There we go. All right. Ready? Okay. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, well, thank you, everyone. I think it's always nice. One of the parts that I really enjoy about being part of this board specifically is about the recognitions that are given to our employees on a monthly basis, as I think recognition is really critical. Not that people need it, but I think it's really important to be able to do that. And the work that you all are doing is really important to our community. So I think that's just really important part of what we do as part of the board of directors, as well as having that opportunity to recognize the great work that's being done by the team. So thank you. So we'll move on to our next item on our agenda, which today we do have a public hearing. And so we are going to there's going to be a presentation that's going to be provided to us in regards to the fiscal year 2024-25 operating and capital budget by Mrs. Lisa Reinheimer. Then once we receive the presentation, we'll open up the public hearing for public comments and questions that we may have on the operating budget. Then we will bring it back to the board for any final comments and adoption of the budget that also coincides with approval of a resolution authorizing the filing of the federal grant applications and also authorizing staff to apply to the Transportation Agency for Monterey County for Transportation Development Act, local transportation funds and state transit assistance for fiscal year 2024. So at this time, I will turn it over to Mrs. Reinheimer for the presentation.
Thank you, Chair. Members of the board, Lisa Reinheimer, Assistant General Manager for Monterey Salinas Transit. First, I'd like to give a shout out to Andrea Williams. She's our finance manager, sitting back there tucked away, and she shouldn't be here today because her son just welcomed a new baby girl into his family.
Oh, congratulations.
Looks like a baby herself.
But I also would like to recognize the fact that there are 16 plus contributors to the budget as well. So it does take a team effort to put this thing together. So first, I'm going to start with the current fiscal year end forecast. So we're projecting a $7.8 million surplus instead of needing over $5 million in rainy day funds. So quite the spread here, and that is largely attributed to our ongoing challenges of hiring enough coach operators to deliver the service that we want to with regard to the Better Bus Network. We've also not spent as much as we thought we would on MV contracted services, again, not being able to fully deploy the Better Bus Network. And then also fuels coming in lower than what we had anticipated. So by the end of this fiscal year and the beginning of next, we'll have built a reserve of probably $52 million to help us through whatever rainy day comes our way in the next few years. So let me start by highlighting some of the revenues for starting July 1st of 2024 fiscal year. So it starts July 1st of 2023, goes to June 30th, 2024. Some of the highlights are that passenger fares are a really small portion of what we collect for revenues. So we're not proposing to increase those fares. We just decrease them as part of our reimagining of our system. And in fact, we're proposing to continue the free fares in the Pajaro community through the rest of the fiscal year. And we're also making the contactless fare payment devices permanent on our buses. This year we had been in a demo period for some time, and our IT department is deploying a more permanent solution as we speak. We are one of the board members at one time, I don't know if this individual has left or not, the MST board, but they had asked about the interest that we get on our reserves. And since that question, I don't remember exactly when it was, we received notice from our bank under our money market account that the interest would be increasing, and we're up to 3% right now through our money market account through Mechanics Bank. So we're anticipating nearly $1 million of interest this next fiscal year based on the $52 million reserve that we've banked. Other regular revenues, federal, state, et cetera, dollars increase modestly, including our Measure Q program. This is the one that funds seniors, persons with disabilities, and veterans. So now I'm going to switch over to the expenditure side. We are assuming we'll be fully staffed with no changes to staffing levels. In other words, the FTE count is the same as it is today. And so we're not increasing staffing. We've incorporated additional funding into the travel and training program for research and development per the discussion that the board had last month. On the capital side of the budget, we are including zero emissions buses in support of the SURF project per the board's direction. We're fully funding the SURF project and continuing our planning efforts on the Salinas operations and maintenance facility. So someone mentioned this earlier today, both that our investment here in transit supports our local economy. Actually, that was up for Paul. And having a, family and supporting your family and being in our community. So at the urging of Director LaBar, which unfortunately he's not here today, but we'll have to let him know next time. We included in our budget an APTA, American Public Transportation Association Economic Impact Calculator. So they apply local conditions to any transit agency across the country, put in our budget, and what it calculated was our $74.5 million operating capital budget has a net economic effect on our community of $109 million. So that 74 million brings us back 35 million in economic effect for our local communities. So I would say all in all, we are faring pretty well over the next several years, but we did want to look past these next year's budget and see what it would mean as we start to use up that reserve. So in FY24, we're using 6.6 million in reserve, FY25, 7.3 million. But moving beyond that, in the year FY28, that reserve, assuming that we meet budget, that reserve will go away. So that is essentially the point where we break even, and we'll have to think about what that means in 3 years as we start putting together the FY28 budget. So for the next 2 years, we're doing great. And as the chair said, we are required to hold a public hearing as part of our enabling legislation every year to hear from the public what the annual budget means. And to Director Smith's question about unfunded liability, we'll look into that a little bit more, but we do have a line item in our budget that contributes to PERS over $3-4 million. I'm not sure exactly what amount is the unfunded liability that we're contributing, but we'll get back to you on that. I don't want to misspeak.
Yeah, Director Emilio too had that question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you have that question?
I had it. That's
Okay.
fine.
And-
Ed could take it.
Yeah, I think we all asked for follow-up on that. So thank you, Lisa.
Yeah.
For providing that. Okay, so at this time, then let me open up the public hearing. I will open up the public hearing at 11 o'clock. And so want to receive any comments from any members of the public that are joining us here in our boardroom, or those that are joining us via Zoom. Any comments or questions in regards to the fiscal year 2024-25 operating and capital budget for Monterey Salinas Transit? I will start with those here in our boardroom. Any public comments?
I do. I can't find the raise hand button.
Hold on. I'm starting with our boardroom, and there's no public comments in our boardroom. So now I will go out to Zoom. And Mr. Tate Baugh, if you can mute yourself.
Sure.
Okay, go ahead.
She meant unmute yourself, Kate.
Oh, unmute yourself. Not mute yourself. Can you hear me?
Kate, you are muted.
Oh, sorry. I thought you told me to mute myself.
No, unmute yourself. I was just wanting to make sure that I asked for public comments from the boardroom first and then taking it out to Zoom.
Oh, okay. Okay. Now I
We're on
understand.
Zoom now, so go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So, I just took a look at the FY 2024 and FY 2025, and I think I saw something surprising, which found very interesting, because under the label people under the 2-year action plan, it says under people that there's a number 1, it says initiate transit service and supporting marketing campaign to Gilroy Transit Center which will be happening this fall. And I understand if you cannot answer my question, and if you want me to talk about it later, at an important time, I will be happy to have that conversation.
No, Tate, so this is the opportunity for you to ask comments and questions on that. So yes, so you had a comment then on the
I was going to ask if this is true, like if they're implying that they're going to reinstate a bus route from Gilroy to Salinas. That's what I was trying to ask.
Okay. Perfect. So I will let Lisa respond to that.
The answer is yes. We are planning on reinstating service to the Gilroy Caltrain station sometime in fall. We're working with our partners to the north, VTA, on an agreement to do such. And we have funding through federal government to do so. So we don't know exactly what this schedule is going to be yet.
Right.
We will have a launch date at some point as we get closer to finalizing that agreement with the Santa Clara VTA, and we'll be letting people know how to use the service, when to use the service, et cetera.
Thank you. And I don't want to take up so much of your time, but I have some questions that might not be related to this subject. But I'm not gonna spend time on that right now, but I would really be happy, like before, if someone could email me like to have a conversation on Zoom like I did with Lisa Reinheimer, because I have some questions about some bus stops in some cities of Monterey County, and I don't think this has anything to do with the agenda. I might be wrong though, just in case you're wondering.
Yeah, thank you, Tate. So I think we do have your contact information, but this is, if this is related, Lisa, can you just clarify that? I know obviously this is also the capital budget also has to do with different bus stops that are being
Okay.
allocated for funding in different areas. So I know there's a budget set aside for that.
Okay.
So I think this is relevant. So do you have specific, Tate, just so we can move on? Do you have specific areas that you are concerned about?
Yes, I'm gonna make this quick. I already sent an email to the customer report or whatever it was, and I got a response. So disregard the email if you received mine for the board meeting, but I do have a couple comments and what I'm concerned about. One, I sent an email about some bus stops that are not paired in both directions in the following cities: Carmel by the Sea, Monterey, Marina, and Salinas. And I found out the reason why was mostly due to lack of sidewalks. And my concern is I wish they what was that? Sorry. And I wish there should be like improvement to put construction on sidewalks so that disabled people and other people can have access to bus stops in both directions. And two, here's my last concern. It's about Keene City. I'm very happy that line 34 operates in a circular direction, which is why there are no bus stops paired on Broadway Street in Keene City, but there's one problem. My biggest concern is that line 34 does not operate on weekends, and the reason that concerns me is because there's a museum in Keene City called Monterey County Agricultural and Rural Life Museum that is open on Tuesday through Sunday from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. And because it is open on weekends, my concern is people need access to line 34 on not just weekdays, but also on weekends, so they can transfer to line 23 at the intersection of North 3rd Street and Lynn Street, since line 23 provides service at that bus stop on Broadway Street in the southbound direction only. And without line 34 on weekends, people will have to take line 23 and get off at Me Memorial Hospital or the intersection North 3rd Street and Lynn Street, which is a total waste of time, no offense.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you for all that information. I know we went beyond our 3 minutes. We typically allow for 3 minutes.
Sure.
I think we captured all of that information. Thank you for sharing that. I've
Yeah.
written my notes, and I think our staff is writing their notes as well, so they can correspond with you on some of those concerns.
Okay.
But I will turn it over to Lisa. Just Lisa, in terms of that budget set aside for the bus stops, can you just explain to us and our public just what is the process to be able to look at? I know we've talked about the prioritization of some of those bus stops, but can you just share that with our public so they're aware as well?
So let me start with the capital improvement program, which we've included as an appendix to the budget. We've set aside $348,800 in the FY 23-24 budget. Part of that is for South County bus stops in support of those circulators. And then the other part is for the Better Bus Network implementation, because we know there are some areas where we'd like to have bus stops, but they're not quite available yet. So at the end of the day, MST, to serve a bus stop, new bus stop, we have to make sure that it's ADA accessible. We need to have the ability for one of our buses to deploy its wheelchair lift and pick up somebody who needs to have that extra assistance, whether it's a walker, a wheelchair, or whatever. So we need to make sure that those stops meet those guidelines. In some areas, the sidewalk's fine, and we can work with the cities to install a pole and a flag indicating that this is indeed where the bus is going to go with the bus line on it and everything. In other places, it's more difficult where a sidewalk needs to be widened so we can have the space we need for that wheelchair deployment, the ramp deployment. In other places, it's even more complicated where there might be utilities that need to be adjusted. So without speaking specifically to a bus stop, that's generally the complexity of bus stops. And we do have a list of locations that we would like to implement the low-hanging fruit first, especially with the South County circulators, and then in other locations as well. But it does get complicated very quickly.
Yeah. Thank you, Lisa, for providing that explanation, just so that way there's clarity in terms of what the process looks like when we're looking at bus stops across, across the county. Okay, so any additional questions from those that are joining us via Zoom? Okay, I don't see any additional hands raised, so we will then, now at this time, I would like to close the public comment, and I will close that at 11:09, and I will bring it back to the board for any final comments, questions. Okay, Director Alejo?
I don't know if this thing is on.
It's
Yes,
on.
okay, perfect.
Always on.
Just talking about additional bus stops only because this is it's an old item, has to do with the new potential courthouse in Seaside. It was sensitive to me because I thought Greenfield should have got theirs first, but it is what it is now. And the budget is going to be voted on, state budgets will be voted on June 15th. But I just heard today, this morning, that there was 154 million put in for the new Seaside Courthouse. So with that, having worked as a staff attorney for the Superior Court in my previous life, I know how critical the bus stop was in Awajito Road for especially a lot of low-income residents. Many of them come from South County all the way for the family law and small claims and civil courts in Monterey. So talking about just future bus stops, I think, has there been any conversation with the Superior Court about planning bus service at any new location, Carl? And we might be early because I know constructing something is going to take a long time, but conversations should start happening if the money's going to be in the state budget to move this project forward.
I'm not aware of anything specific, but we have Michelle Overmeyer on the call. She's nearby, can unmute herself. Have we had any discussions with the courts about?
Good morning, board members. Yes, we have. So we've been included in the CEQA process, and we have submitted a couple comment letters asking for the courthouse to include a bus stop. I believe it's Diverty Street that their property fronts. And so we've requested that the infrastructure be constructed at the same time as the development happens there. And then we have also requested that they enroll in MST's group discount program for employees to have discounted bus passes.
Great. I'm glad the conversations are happening because the planning starts early and you guys are on it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Director Alejo, for that. And I know that they're also, the team is also engaged in the TOD, and I don't know if that's part of the planning process, looking at strategically locations of different bus stops.
We have over 1,000 of them, so it's sometimes a little difficult to keep up on all of them.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. And I just want to say, in terms of South County, I know we still have our circulators that we wanted to see happen in December, and that still hasn't happened. So wanting to make sure that, you know, we go through those, we jump over those obstacles and hurdles so we can make sure that our better bus network does start getting implemented in South County and the South County cities, at least of Gonzales, Soledad, and Greenfield. Yeah,
We have that list, right? We have the list.
Yeah, there was an
Yeah.
update today provided to the MST Operations Committee
Okay.
Regarding that. And yes, movement is starting to happen after long last. And also MST, we mentioned several cities where we're working on bus stops, not just South County, but within Seaside and Pacific Grove and Carmel by the Sea. There were specific bus stop projects that we are actively working on.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So any other comments, Director Pacheco?
Just out of curiosity, because I'm having a struggle with our city. Just for comparativeness, how much of your budget is for staffing versus services? You know that, and if not, just email me. It's not a big deal. We're having concerns related to our city right now.
Sure. So generally speaking, the vast majority of our budget goes to coach operator wages, overtime, other wages, actual delivery of service in our communities, including MV transportation. And you can't drive a bus without having a person, right? So I'd say the vast majority is spent on people. And the people of our communities are spending that money in our local community. So for example, I live in Marina, and so, I'm spending my money at the grocery store, at farmers market, locally supporting the efforts, the employees of those, retail or grocery house, not specifically grocery outlet, but a grocery store. But did you want to have like
I was just curious, because I'll use PG as an example, because we spend 68% of our budget for staffing. PG is about 50%, Marina's 55, 60, something like that. So I was trying to say that sometimes without you need buses that cost lots of money.
Yeah.
So if you without the buses, you don't have no drivers, so there's a balance there of service the bus versus staffing. So I was just curious because.
So I've been told by a little whisper in my ear who heard it from our finance manager, about 50% is for people.
Good,
Yeah.
that's great.
50%.
Glad to hear
Thank
that.
you, Andrea.
Yeah, thank you. Any other? Yeah, thank you, Director Pacheco. Any other final comments or questions? Yeah, Director Emilio?
Thank you, Chair. On number 3 on the capital budget on page 49, I was more than curious. It says the last sentence, major capital projects include replacement buses with zero emission buses and the final design of the et cetera phase of the surf busway. I'm just curious, how many are we talking? It says replacement buses with zero emissions. Do you know how many we're looking at? Maybe Carl might know, or Lisa. How many buses will be going to zero emissions?
So we have total of 7, but there will be more identified in this coming year and the following year for zero emission buses. Those will largely be they'll all be deployed on the SURF project. Part of the requirement for the state funding that we get is that the SURF project will have only zero emission vehicles operating on there. So that's where our initial push is going to be. So from Salinas to Monterey, using the SURF busway will be zero emissions only. And then the rest of the fleet outside of that will transition to zero emissions. Eventually, we have certain milestones that we have to meet over the next several years. And by 2040, the entire fleet has to be zero emissions. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Director Emilio. Any other comments? Director Smith?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Lisa and staff, for working on the budget. I know there's a lot of moving parts. I just wanted to call out subsection F, where it's talking about the financial break-even analysis. Look forward to hearing more as we move forward, because right now we are using reserves. I know we have large projects coming, but your staff report says it will be important to carefully track revenues and expenses over the next 2 years and plan accordingly. So I think that's probably our heavy lift as we look forward to the next 3 to 4 years. But when it's looking at 2028 as the outcome, that means the planning starts now. So I think we need to pay attention to what our board policy is in terms of how much revenue we're using that supports the operational costs versus, opportunities for cost savings as well as increasing any revenue. So that's a larger question for larger amount of work for the board later. So I just want to call that out.
In your board's, strategic priorities and action plan, we focus, our staff's attention on, getting appropriate revenues. Prior, the year after FY 28 is FY 29, which is the final year of Measure Q. So, staff will be, and is currently working on, and has already made contact with the appropriate people to, determine what are we going to do from a polling perspective for the future. Getting Measure Q back on the ballot for a permanent renewal instead of a 15-year, and may there be other opportunities with another measure or not. So that is already part of the work plan.
Okay.
But it does tie together very close with FY 28 being the cash flow issue, FY 29 being Measure Q. It's all happening there. So we'll be coming back to you. We're planning now, and you'll be hearing more over the next 2 years for sure.
It's a funny thing, when it sunsets, we always plan on, well, what do we do before the sun goes down? And we do that in our own budgets, our own lives. So 29 is the sunset. So that means planning is now for.
Planning it, and it is happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Our
Thank
active
you.
discussions.
Good to hear that.
Thank you, Director Smith. And I just have a follow-up on that because I know some of us obviously are going through some of those measures locally as well. But I think one thing that, at least for our city has come really relevant is that we need to be strategically marketing how those dollars are being spent. And so how we can now, I know MST does a lot of the marketing, but Lisa, just more information and more marketing strategically for Measure Q. How are those dollars being spent, and especially within our communities? So that way we also, as Director Smith mentioned, is we start doing a lot of that work now as well. We start making sure that we're sharing how Measure Q is really significant. And if these dollars are gone, how is that really going to impact not just MST as an entity, but our communities as a whole, with getting people to where they need to be, and especially our senior population, our veterans, that is really critical. Especially for a lot of the health services. So I think it's really important to be able to do something more focused on Measure Q. Okay, any other comments, questions? Question, Director Emilio? Okay, one more.
If I could ask our Mr. Laredo.
Our district attorney.
Yeah, board attorney.
Board attorney. Yeah,
Mr.
district
Laredo,
attorney is DA.
when it comes to the recommendation, obviously we receive and then we'll conduct, but when the motion comes, do you just motion it right 3 through 5?
That is correct. It
Could be a general.
You can make a general motion for both C, D, and E.
Okay.
Okay, so any other, okay, so at this time then, board, is there a motion to approve or adopt the proposed 2024-2025 operating and capital budget along with item D and E?
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
so we have a first and a second. The first was Director Alejo, a second is Director Emilio. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Lisa, and the rest of the team. Andrea, thank you so much for being here, and congratulations on your new grandchild. Okay, so we'll move on to our next item on our agenda. Action items, we have none for today, so we'll move into the reports and information items. And we have 7-1 through 7-5. Are there any comments on any of those items from the directors? Okay, I have a comment on 7-5. And I just wanted to point out for the directors that there's, on the different legislative trips that have been taken, or the different trips, not legislative trips, the different trips that have been participated by our MST staff. I do want to point out and congratulate our team that there was 3 of them that were featured, either speakers or panelists on some of these conferences that they attended. So Mr. Paul Lopez, who we just provided him with the recognition. He was part of a conference, the Think Transit Conference that was held April 2nd through the 5th in Nashville. And he was a featured speaker at the conference with the Enterprise Asset Management. So just want to say congratulations to him. And then also congratulations to Christy Sugabo from our Mobility Services Manager, who was also one of the presenters at the CALAC Spring Conference Expo, April 17th through the 20th. Moving communities through mobility management. So congratulations to her, and also to Kelly Helkin, our Director of Human Services and Risk Management, who attended CALAC Spring 2023 Conference, April 17th through the 20th. And she was also a speaker on the innovative program to attract and maintain employees. So and MST received the Above and Beyond Award at the annual awards luncheon. And Carl was also a presenter on the post-service COVID planning. So I just wanted to point that out because I think, as you know, we had part of our strategic planning is making sure that MST continues to be innovative, that we continue for our small rural agency to really be present and be the leaders in our industry. And I think, you know, we've done a really great job. And I just want to acknowledge staff for their leadership. And, you know, some of these big conferences where we have other large entities, that MST is really innovative and progressive in what we're doing. So thank you.
And I'll just say, thank you, Chair. I'll just say that if any of you are ever asked to speak at a board members conference, either CTA or CALAC or APTA, we have plenty of presentations in the can that we can send you off with and walk you through. So, you know, feel, you know, empowered if you'd like to speak on behalf of MST about any of these topics. We'll be happy to help you do that as you attend these various conferences.
Yeah, thank you. So I just wanted to point that out. So if there's no comments or questions on the reports and information items, then we'll go on to item number 8, which is board reports, comments, and referrals. And so do we have any comments on any of those items? And that's A-1 through A-3. So reports on meetings attending. Oh, so let me start with the reports on meetings attended by board members. I did attend the legislative conference in Sacramento, but I'll do my written report in the next report for July. And board member comments and announcements. Do we have any board member comments and announcements? Director
Yes,
Barrera?
Madam Chair, just to, I won't be here next month, so I hope you don't miss me too much. Councilmember Osorio will be here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for making that announcement. Okay,
I have one.
okay, we'll go around this way.
So I just wanted to make an announcement. On Thursday, June 15th, the Forest Theater in Carmel will be honoring veterans with a free play, which is called Ride the Wild Cyclone. So has something to do with transportation. I'm just putting it out there. That this is a free event that has been happening for a few years now. And so I am publicly inviting anyone who is a veteran or has a veteran in your family that they're welcome to attend this event.
Our new marketing campaign, Ride the Wild Cyclone with us.
And there you go. So it's this Thursday at 8 p.m.
I have a comment.
Thank you, Co-Chair Carbone. Director Emilio?
Thank you. Just, I know it's passed now. I made an announcement. June 6th was Normandy Day, and to honor all the veterans that served. My dad served Normandy, World War II, and it's important to thank the veterans. I work part-time at the DLI, and it's just an honor to be among people that served in our country.
Yeah. Thank you, Director Emilio, for that, making that statement. Thank you for your father's service to our country. Thank you. Director Pacheco, so we're gonna, then we're gonna go this way.
Just wanted to thank MST. They were great help with the Earth Day celebration and Sustainable Seaside City of Seaside. I think we had a really good turnout. And a lot of information was shared with the bus being there as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Pacheco. And then I will go this way. And I saw, yes.
Right, I
Director
just
Worthy?
have an announcement to make. Our Gonzalez Youth Council just won the All-American City Award. They traveled to Denver, Colorado over the weekend. For those of you that don't know what that is, I'm just going to read a little small thing. The All-America City Award is a community recognition program in the United States given by the National Civic League. The award recognizes the work of communities in using inclusive civic engagement to address critical issues and create stronger connections among residents, businesses, and nonprofits. Our young people in Gonzales are very active, and they have been working on a project for the past 3 years on mental health for our young people. They've been working with CSUMB, and there were 12 semifinalists, and they came out on top. So we're all very, very
Wow.
proud of them. So
Congratulations.
anyway, I just want to toot our horn a little bit. Our youth kids are doing a great job.
So it's happening in Gonzales.
No, wait a minute. It's happening in Gonzales. It's happening in Soledad. So thank you, Director Worthy, for that. And I also want to make an announcement as well. So we were actually named the 15 best small cities to visit in 2023. by the Smithsonian. So I mean, we're really excited that South County is really getting that recognition. And then also we were also showcased on the Wine Enthusiast magazine. So we're paired the Salinas Valley City. So it was Gonzales, Greenfield, Soledad, and King City, pairing our Mexican cuisine with our local wines from our wine corridor. So I really encourage people. I think, we're going to promote this, pair a glass of wine with your Mexican, your favorite Mexican dish.
Right.
Which is?
So we were really excited about that. So
Noirs and Zinfandels.
yeah. So
all those infidels are not good anymore.
the other thing as well is just want to invite everyone. We do have our Soledad Hot Summer Days coming up in July 8th, and this is our second event, and it's from 11 to 6 p.m. So just welcome everyone to come down. And I do have a request to have MST attend that event as well, is making sure that there's proper kind of arrangements, because we will have our front street that's going to be closed down, and it'll probably need to have the buses rerouted on that day. Yeah, so thank you. Director Carbone?
Yes, one more shout out since I gave Carmel one. For the city of Sand City, they received one of the top 10 art places to go in the New York Times. So this happened.
Wow.
Just putting it out there though for the city. So.
Our little towns, they deserve.
I'm sure since we're on a roll, Salinas was mentioned in the Monterey County Weekly, so that's a great city.
Since we're all too young. The city of Pacific Grove. Pacific Grove is the top. It's number 3 out of the top 10 to visit.
Oh, nice.
Go break.
Thank you. And we do have closed session, so
Just one last thing, I
last
never do
item.
this, but the military was brought up, this Thursday through Monday, I'll be out of the office attending the promotion of my daughter, Olivia's to go to captain.
Congratulations. Well, thank you, Carl. Best wishes. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to our next item on our agenda now, which is everybody has attachments on any of the detailed monthly performance reports. Please feel free to reach out to staff if you guys have any specific questions. And at this time, we do have a closed session item. So we do have 2 conference with labor negotiators under Government Code 54957.6 ATU and MSTA. And this will be information will be provided by Kelly Halcon and our board attorney, Michael Laredo. And we also have 10-2 conference with real property negotiator pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8 property. And this is a parcel L 2.3 and parcel L 2.41 northeast corner of Giggling and 8th Avenue, former Fort Ord in Monterey County. Negotiating parties are MST and Monterey Salinas Transit, property owner Seaside as a Fort Ord Reuse Authority, Environmental Services Cooperative Agreement, and Local Redevelopment Authority successor in interest. And under negotiation, transfer of property to MST, terms and price. So at this time, I want to open it up to any members of the public that want to address the board on any matters related to the closed session items. So just as a reminder, we do have 3 minutes. And I will start with any of those comments, public comments for this item before we recess to closed session from any members that are joining us here in our boardroom. Okay, any public comments from those that are joining us via Zoom? Okay, seeing none, then we will adjourn to closed session and we'll reconvene shortly. Thank you.
And this wasn't, was it?
No, this is gonna come back. next week. Yeah, this is gonna come back. 3, 4, 5, Are we ready? Yes. Okay. So we are, thank you for your patience. We're returning now from our closed session item, and I will turn this over to our I will turn it over to Carl Sidoric, or I'll turn it over to our board council for a report out.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So regarding both items, item 10-1 and 10-2, the board did meet in closed session. For both items, there was general discussion and direction provided, but they will both be returning to a future agenda. So there was no reportable action. That concludes my report.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So with this, if there's no additional items of business to discuss, then I do adjourn this meeting at 12:03. Thank you, everyone. And we do look forward to having you at our next board meeting, which is July 10th at 10 a.m.